Hi, my name is Melanie McDonald, and in this video, we're going to talk about collecting money owed to your company over the phone. Uh, like any endeavor we have in business, before we rush out and do something, we're going to want to think about what it is we're doing, and we're going to want to have a strategy. So even though today we're going to cover some topics that are very specific in terms of tactics, there is a strategy behind it. So let's get started. First of all, you're going to want to think about whether it makes sense to collect or try to start the collection process with an outstanding receivables by the phone or in person. And part of that will depend on how much money is owed to you, the current relationship with that customer, who has that relationship, and many other things. So collecting by phone is a good first step. You may want to try to collect this way before an in-person visit. It's easier, it costs less to do, and so it may be a good place to start. So we're going to cover the who, what, when, where, why, and how. That's a lot in this video. So first of all, let's say that you've looked at your receivables and you've deemed that several customers could be contacted by phone productively. And often that would be the case if, for example, the customer has never been late before. You may think, well, this is kind of a mystery. It hasn't happened before with them. And so, we really just don't even know what's going on. Maybe the invoice is lost, and that's the simplest explanation, but who knows? So, after you figure out the why do I want to, or have someone in my organization contact this customer by phone? That's the why. The next is the who. And the who relates to who has a good telephone personality. It has nothing to do with who actually has, again, that label of accounts receivable clerk, because maybe your accounts receivable clerk is a tremendously organized, detailed person, which you'd certainly want in that position, but maybe their phone demeanor is not the friendliest. So this is not the person who should make that call. So think about who you have in your administrative staff, or you can even go beyond that if you need to. But maybe that's someone else in administration. Maybe it's a receptionist, if you have, or an executive assistant, or maybe, again, someone else, your people. And think who you like to talk to on the telephone, who has a very pleasant demeanor. And then you get together with that person and with your receivables clerk, and you make a plan. When is it usually a good time to call? What are the routines that are already in place? And this first call, so that's the who. Once you've identified the who, then it's coming up with what are they going to say. And they need to be part of this because they have to feel comfortable saying it. And of course, they can practice with your own receivables clerk, and that can be fun, sort of going back and forth, figuring out what to say. But it's very important that it be friendly and that the overall attitude should be one of a detective. They are there not to force someone to pay, but to find out what's happened. And so when you start in a spirit of inquiry, the other person is not put on the defensive. The accounts payable clerk on the other end of the phone is not on the defensive. And the reason I'm talking about calling the accounts payable clerk is that's the first place to start. If there's no pattern of slow payments before, because the inquiry is very basic in terms of finding out, was the invoice received? Is it intact? Is everything okay with it? Or is there something wrong that's making it a problem for the payables clerk to pay it? You know, they have their own rules that they've been given inside their organization. You don't know what those rules are typically. Sometimes they'll share them with whoever's calling. Sometimes they won't. But this is where you're going to start. And it's a spirit of inquiry. The person's a detective. We want to find out what's going on. And very often things can be cleared up then. And when I say very often, I mean at least half the time. This is the problem, in my experience. So that's a huge percentage that can be cleared up just talking to the accounts payable clerk with a friendly, inquisitive demeanor. So we've got the who, we've got the what. In other words, it's going to be a phone call. It's going to be an inquisitive demeanor. You're just trying to find out information. Where we've said is over the phone. How you're going to practice saying different things that sound as non-threatening as possible. The when, again, you might strategize, maybe not Monday mornings. That's usually a very, very busy time. Maybe Tuesday mornings are when these calls are going to be made. Or maybe, again, someone knows this customer and knows that there are better days to call, worse days to call. And we've covered the why. So I think we've got it all covered. And one of the things that you can do is you can definitely incentivize whoever's going to be making these calls. You can make it a game. You can say, for every fact that you get that results in us getting paid, or number of customers, again, depending on your business, you can say you'll get a lunch voucher, or I'll buy pizza for the whole admin staff, so that everyone's sort of rooting for this person, and it's a very upbeat, fun thing. This really should be an upbeat, fun thing, because at this point, there's nothing heavy going on. It's, let's get to it, let's address it. It's very businesslike, it's very professional, and let's figure out where the invoice is and what the problem is. Now, once you know what the problem is, it's not really up to that person to fix it. If it's an administrative problem, then she'll share that with you, obviously, and she'll share that with the receivables person, and then they should be able to reissue the invoice or, whatever. That can be very straightforward. It's not really on that person who's calling unless it is the receivables person, and then they can just follow through. But if it's another person in the office, they're a fact finder. They're gathering the information and they're sharing it with you accurately. So again, it should be a fun thing, a low pressure thing. It can be added to what they do on a regular basis, that whenever there's these things going on, you want them to make a couple calls on a Tuesday morning. And again, it can be a celebrated thing and a fun thing. Often the stories that come back from these initial calls are often pretty funny too. And so that can be part of just enjoying that process. Now, some warnings: do not give this job to a brand new person. It's not fair. It's not fair to them. They have no clue what's going on. It's not going to help them do a good job. So you're setting up a brand new person to fail. Please don't do that. This needs to be a person who knows the business very well, who may even know some customers, but they need to know what's going on. They need to have a good relationship with receivables clerks, so there's no antagonism there. And again, it needs to be a seasoned person. So do not give this to a new person, and do not have them call when you already know what the problem is. That isn't fair either. If you already know there's a real problem with that customer, this approach is going to be fake, and I don't recommend fake relationships. That's not what I'm about, and I hope that's not what you're about. That's not a good place to be in your personal self. We want to have warm relationships with our customers that are based on reality and based on us doing a good job for the customer within the confines of a contract, whatever it is they want us to do. That should be real stuff. So really sort of the dangers here are make sure it's a real call, make sure you really don't know what's going on. There's a good relation. There should be at least a neutral relationship there, not adversarial, not a new person. And again, if you are concerned about any of these issues and you really don't have anyone else that can call, you can call. If you're more concerned and you feel like, well, I'm not even sure a call is a safe thing to do because of other things with that customer, by all means, don't call. Then that's an in-person visit. And I have another video about that, and we can actually go on and on, not about in-person visits, but the thought that you need to put into who you should call is really, really very important. And I started there, and I'm going to end there. Think strategically about your customers, and then the tactics will just follow. So I'm wishing you good luck. If you need any more specific help, I'd love to work with you on collecting money owed to your company. And you can find out more about me at strategicreceivables.com. And there's a contact form there. I'd love to work with you. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.